Hi, today on the Heaven's Middle video podcast, we're going to talk about therapy people. There's an old song that goes, therapy people, therapy tribe. Hold on a second. Wait, Pastor Bob's telling me those aren't the right words. It's Cherokee. Scott Heron, she's coming in. It's Cherokee people, Cherokee tribe. Roger Dale Martin is telling me it's by Paul Revere and the Raiders, and I completely got the words wrong. I can't hear all these voices in my head. I need some therapy. Welcome back to the Heaven's Middle video podcast. We're going to talk about therapy people. Therapy is good. There's many types of therapy: cognitive behavioral therapy, neuro-linguistic processing, dialectical behavioral therapy, or DBT. If I could boil down therapy to an easier description, it might be someone who listens to you, listens to your problem, listens to how you're thinking, and helps you come up with solutions that help you succeed, help you overcome. Maybe points out lies that you're believing. You're thinking one way, but if you hear the truth or you hear some good news about that subject, you can overcome that obstacle. You can get on with your life. You can walk in freedom. Therapy is a good thing. Therapy is help. Therapy is assistance. And some people put down therapy. They make it sound like, oh, that's all in your head. It really is in your head, but your head is part of your whole person. Therapy people might be a funny description about people who are dependent upon therapy. They can't get through life without therapy. There's no shame in needing therapy. Therapy is a good thing. There's a balance, though. There is a balance in needing some help, needing a listening ear, needing a second opinion. I think about PTSD, post-traumatic stress syndrome. Some of the people who've come back from military or law enforcement situations, they've seen some things that maybe some people would say, you were never meant to see stuff like that. I don't know if that's true or not, because God gave us eyes, and things happen in this fallen world. So if you boil it down to theologically, we were not meant to see these things. We were not meant to live in a fallen world. We were meant to live in the garden. But that history changed a long, long time ago. So we live in a fallen world, so we see things. King David, a mighty, valiant warrior, and the greatest king Israel has never known, in the lineage of the Messiah. King David saw lots of battles. There was a popular song, a top 40 song of the day that said, Saul has killed his thousands and David his 10,000s. It was probably kind of a metal tune. It probably had a chunk, 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 chunk. But that's just speculation. I don't know what kind of instrumentation or amplification they had back then. But David was valiant in war and battle. And you know what? Those battles weren't done by flying drones or air-to-ground defense. They were hand-to-hand. There was a lot of blood. The armor, any sort of armor that they wore was probably covered with blood when they came home from battle. King David, when he killed Goliath, it said he killed him with a slingshot, and then he cut off the giant's head. I've seen pictures of David holding his head in his hand, and Goliath has long hair. I don't know if Goliath had long hair, but it said David carried Goliath's head back. So maybe he used Goliath's hair to carry that severed head. Maybe he just carried it like a bowling ball. Maybe he stuck his fingers through the eye sockets, kind of like fishermen do sometimes when they catch a fish. Or maybe just David reached his hand in Goliath's mouth and carried that skull around that way. Either way, all those descriptions are brutal, gruesome, and graphic. We were never meant to see these things, yet we see these things. But David, did he have PTSD? I'm going to suggest today that he was able to overcome that if he did have that. Why? Because one, he used worship and music and confession and lament to pour his heart out to the Lord. He would go into God's presence and he would share from his heart. Sometimes he would tell God, "Where are you? Why are my enemies vanquishing over me? Why am I being defeated? Where are you, God?" Kind of like he's telling God, "This isn't fair. You've turned your back on me. Where are you? I'm having doubts now." David was able to honestly express what was going on in his heart. And I think God answered him, and God brought healing. And you can't underestimate the power of music, too. David played the lyre, the stringed instrument, and he played it skillfully. Music has some healing properties. It does something that soothes our soul. It soothes the beast. So David went through some tremendous, incredibly gruesome and brutal and graphic and hard to deal with violence, face to face. Got blood all over him. I'm sure he did. He had his own form of therapy, I believe, which was talking to God. And that's part of the balance I'm talking about. Sometimes you don't need a counselor. Sometimes you do. A trained counselor is awesome because they have so much knowledge and they've seen so much and they've done so many studies. They can see red flags or signs of certain behavior and can point you in the right direction, at least to give you some tools to think rightly or maybe overcome some of the struggles you're having. But David had the Lord's presence. David also had a band. I'll call him a band of merry men. David had an army, and I'm sure he had an inner circle. And maybe they talked through some of the things they saw. And maybe they joked around about it. Maybe they were lighthearted about it, and that was a way for them to cope with what they were seeing. But I present to you King David as a model patient of using a balanced type of therapy that's called going into the presence of the Lord, having a small circle of friends to confidently share with each other. One other tip, if you're using a friend for therapy, that can be a good thing. Be careful and choose your friends wisely. Some people, maybe a couple, a man has an addiction to alcohol, and they come and talk to their pastor about it. And their pastor hears all the gory details and all the bad things he did and points him in the right direction. And that man, by the grace of God, leans into God's presence and help and was able to overcome his addiction and walk in freedom. The next time he sees his pastor, they turn the other way. They want to avoid the pastor because they think the pastor sees their sin, or when they look at the pastor, they remember going into his office and being counseled by him, and they just associate their pastor's face with their own addiction and sin from the past. So, when you pick your friends, you might want to avoid super close friends that are going to remember your past or associate the stuff you share with you, because your identity is not based in your failings and your sin. Also, pick a friend that you can trust. It's not a gossip person. It's just going to blab all of your problems out to your friends. Anyway, those aren't all the magic answers, but just wanted to talk about therapy. Therapy Nation will return. Sorry, I got caught up in Paul Revere and the Raiders. Anyway, join the discussion. Let me know if I've helped or just thrown a wrench and caused a big mess. Take care.